Here we are. It is Thursday morning, the 20th of January, 2022. It's actually, yeah, that's right, 2022. Keith Hayes in Lewes, East Sussex. And I hope this morning that we're going to have the privilege of a lady joining us. Technology again, we're dependent upon. And I've done all the right things, I think, and I hope that perhaps that they will be able to tap on to the appropriate link and appear on our screen in a little while. And then at 8:15, our usual favourite, Andrew Sloan, will join us so that we can have a chat about things that are going on at the moment. But while we're waiting for our guest, who is Marina Chapman, a lady of great interest, because she was raised by monkeys in the Colombian rainforest after being kidnapped and dumped and left for dead. And she managed a little self-survival. It must have been frightening for a 5-year-old. But anyway, she existed, was then taken out of the jungle by a hunter, sold into captivity into a brothel, and then given as a servant to some mafia people who treated her extremely badly before she actually managed to get into any sort of normal life, and ended up in Bradford, where she married, and to this day is very happily married with 2 daughters, and is able to show her credentials, as it were, some of which have been put under a doubt by a good many people. I've kicked around the world a great deal, and I know the most unusual things that can happen. So I am quite prepared to take this lady's story at face value and find out what it was like. But she is part of the Lewes Speakers Festival, and which takes place on the 22nd and 23rd of January, which is, let's see, 22nd is Saturday, and the 23rd is Sunday. And there's a whole raft of speakers. Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, Steve Richards, presenter of the Week in Westminster, Polly Toynbee, Guardian columnist. Tomorrow I have on with me Professor Sir David Omand, who is the former Director General of GCHQ. In other words, he is M, and a spy. He was the chief spy. And what he's going to talk about is 10 things that you didn't know about how to be a spy. Anybody who aspires to a way forward of being a career as a spy, better tune in. Vince Cable, Simon Heffer, Norman Baker, Susan Saunders, David Walker, Lord Howell, a whole raft of people of great significance. We're lucky to have Sir David Omand tomorrow, and I hope that we are going to have Marina Chapman today, because hers is a fascinating story. The story basically is that, as I've said, she was kidnapped as a young child before she was actually 5. When the kidnappers obviously either found they got the wrong person or nobody was prepared to pay any doctor or she was dumped in the jungle and left to die. But she wandered into a tribe, a clan of monkeys, and the Capuchin monkeys, who are known to be reasonably happy with human beings. And she was she lived with them, and they looked after her, and eventually it took time, but adopted her as a part of the family. And only when she was found by a hunter 5 years later did she leave the jungle and leave the clan. But there are a lot of things that, being part of that clan of monkeys, that she remembers, that stayed with her, and fascinating memories. Now, I hope that we are actually going to get her on. Nothing has appeared yet, but that's okay, because it gives us a little chance to look at the headlines, because strangely enough, there's very little about Boris on the news this morning, but in the papers, of course, it is still a hot topic on the front pages. So the Mirror, I think it is Let's see. The Mirror, Johnson hanging by a thread. In the name of God, go, says the paper. Well, one would expect out from the Mirror. Of course, the paper has never been very happy with a Conservative government, so they are calling upon the Prime Minister to go. However, the plotters, the people who were given the name of the pork pie plotters, which upset me enormously because I'm a great fan of a pork pie. A really good pork pie is quite terrific. In the name of God, go. But The Guardian, in the name of God, go. Tory anger builds as the PM clings on. And the Daily Mail, in the name of God, grow up. Boris and Carrie's baby hit by COVID. Oh dear. That's a new one for me this morning. The PM fights on as plotters pull back from the brink. And I'm sure that people are asking themselves, it doesn't matter whether what he may have done. There is enough going on in the world, as I outlined yesterday: inflation, cost of living at home, gas prices, the cost of heating a home. And then we're on the brink of war with Russia abroad. And there are other things that are going on in various parts of the world of which we should be concerned. One of the things that upsets me about American community life is that because of the vastness of the country, they tend to be city-states. So, for instance, you go into Atlanta, and the things that you're asked about is the local government there, the city government, the state government, the football team, and so on. And they are fairly oblivious to things that go on in the rest of the world. Well, as people who are aware that we can't live in isolation, we need to be aware of what's going on elsewhere to put into context what we're doing and what our government is doing. And with all due respect, I don't think that we do. From the comments both on the television news and in the newspapers, it's obvious that we really are only worried about what's happening in our own backyard. And I'm not so sure that that's very healthy at all. So I am really quite disturbed. Actually, God bless. Well, one would expect the Daily Express has always been a supporter of Boris and the Conservative Party. Don't ask me why, but in the name of party unity, go and back the Prime Minister. That's what this front page says, and it's the odd one out. Everybody else is having a real go at him, but the Express is saying, "Come on, get behind him, give him some support." Because we need it. And probably it doesn't matter whether it's right, left, it's upside down, inside out. It probably is a sensible thing for the moment. You want to get rid of Boris, by all means do, but do it when we have got less problems on our mind. And particularly since some of his policies, such as Brexit, the economy, even though inflation is galloping at the moment, but the economy is strong. People are going back to work. They seem to have handled COVID and lockdown reasonably well. So there are lots of good things that have happened. Do we actually really want to abandon that in midstream? And that is not a plea for Boris. Don't misunderstand. It is to me, though, the sensible thing is don't change horses in the middle of crises. Wait until the crises have eased a little and then consider what you're going to do about the leadership. Anyway, that's just me. Right. Our lame duck Prime Minister. He still refuses to do the right thing. That's the star one would expect. Quack, quack, oops. And he's got one of those little ducks that you get for the bath. It's set on a podium outside number 10, speaking to the crowd. The Sun, battling Prime Minister crusts the head. End of COVID rules, Partygate inquiry, revolting Tory MPs. And I don't think they mean that they're revolting. I think they mean that they are revolutionary, if you like. So I'm not quite sure where the Sun is standing on that, but they do have a delicious-looking pork pie on the front page. And the Financial Times, which is quite often taken its eye off things that are happening abroad or in industry to concentrate on home. And Johnson buys time after defection to Labour, rallies restive Tory MPs. Yeah, I think one or two MPs decided that they didn't want to be part of the Conservative anymore, so they crossed the House and they are now sitting as Labour MPs. I don't think that I'd have much time for people like that, even though it was something that Churchill did. But nonetheless, that's what they've done. If that's what their conscience tells them, the chances are that they won't have a job at the end of these 2 years. If somebody switches in midstream, you rarely get the faith and the backing of the new lot, and you lose those things that are with the old lot. So I'm afraid that those people, I think, probably have committed political suicide. But it all seems, at the time, why not do this? Because everybody will say hurrah, and then in 5 years' time, nobody can remember who they are. But there we go. Those are my random thoughts on it. Right, there was a protest outside Maria Caulfield's office, apparently, a protest to save the right to protest, because legislation going through Parliament at the moment is trying to curb a certain conditions under which we can all take to the streets if we feel like it. So it's unfortunate that to protest, to save the right to protest, you have to protest. The last hurrah. There we go. Right, the weather. Never mind the weather, as long as we're together. Well, it's cool. It's going to be between going from I think a -3 to +5. So quite chilly out there. Fortunately, no breeze. I'm looking at my trees, just rocking very, very gently, so very slight breeze, and light cloud cover, some sunny spells, and no rain. Right. Well, we haven't got either of our people yet. Andrew has got a tradesman coming, and undoubtedly will join us as soon as he can. And we haven't heard from Marina, so we'll see how things pan out. Sometimes the technology that allows people to come and join me does get a bit dicey, shall we say, and it's always difficult. So forgive me if I'm actually farting around with, of course, the technology that I don't understand, and there is no word from Marina or Vanessa. No, there's not. The only thing in my inbox is that if I want to, I can apply online to borrow £25,000 to £350,000. A decision in minutes. I can borrow £1 right now. Now, here is my dear friend Andrew. I'm happy to say, good morning, Andrew. Hang on, there we go. Oh, it says add to stream. There we go. Yes, there he is in all his glory. How are you, Andrew?
I'm all right, yes. I might have to disappear in about a quarter of an hour if my roof man turns up. There's loads of traffic works apparently on the A27 between Lewes and Brighton. So it took me about 45 minutes to get through last night. Just a nightmare. So he's running late. So if I suddenly have to go, that's why. So I apologise.
My dear chap, I was very happy for you to. I'm delighted to see you this morning. We should have on with us, and once again, you know the technology. You understand it. Whether other people do or not, I don't know. But we should have had Marina Chapman with us, and they haven't appeared yet. And her daughter Vanessa has been looking after the links, and I think she's a musician. And would know how to handle it. But Marina Chapman is an interesting lady. She was kidnapped at 5 years of age in Colombia, in South America, dumped by the kidnappers when she became useless. They weren't going to get anything for her. Dumped in the jungle and left to die, and was adopted by a clan of monkeys, and for 5 years was looked after, almost sort of a Tarzan of the apes, but in a different sex and a different, slightly miniature animal. So I hope that they will join us before the end of the program. But they are speaking at the Lewes Speakers Festival. And guess where I got the hint and the tip for this?
Aha.
Where?
Grizzlies.
And what is Grizzlies?
Grizzlies is my lovely barbershop on Market Street.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that lovely man came in, isn't it? I told you it's like a community centre, drop-in centre. I tell you.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to chat with him. And tomorrow we've got the former spy chief on. He's exchanged a couple of emails with me, so I think he's pretty savvy with what to do to get on. It'd be disappointing if Marina isn't on today, but there we are. These things do happen. But we can always get her in the future, I'm sure, because she lives in Bradford and she's not going away. It's just that it was appropriate for the Speakers Festival, which is going ahead on Saturday and Sunday. Right. Okay, my boy. Now, there is very little about Boris this morning. The plotters, whom I cannot forgive for hijacking the pork pie as a symbol, because that is my favorite food. I just love pork pies. And we cannot abuse pork pies. That's the worst abuse of all. But there is little, although the headlines in the papers still is on about Boris, there is little of the latest news. So let us chat about you for a moment, because now that we're coming out of, now that Plan B is being dropped, let's find out what it is. Is that my little girlfriend?
It is. Yeah, I was hoping she was going to stay, but she's just, as you can
running
tell,
around. Is she? Yeah.
Yeah,
that's better. Oh, she's gorgeous. Incidentally, be quite serious, Andrew. I did the item yesterday. Apparently, dog napping is still on the increase. It started rather badly during lockdown, but apparently now that we're coming out of lockdown, people are still kidnapping dogs and then selling them on at huge prices. So do be careful, because I wouldn't want to lose my girlfriend.
Yeah, I'd like to see someone try with me.
Yeah, I would
tell you that for nothing. Whoa!
Can I sell tickets?
Oh my God! Yeah. It's so it's such a weird thing, isn't it? Why would it's just that thing that if somebody wants something, so they just think they'll just take it. You just think, I don't know, make a plan. I'll help you plan. If you want a dog or make some money, I'll make you a life plan. But don't go around stealing people's dogs. And come on, God's sakes.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But I think what it is they tried to aim for male dogs. So they can put them to stud.
That's right.
It's remarkable. I can remember, I think, in let's see, when did we get our dog? 1975 or thereabouts. And I think it was a corgi, is purebred, and I think it cost me £15 or something of the sort. Nowadays, that same corgi would cost me probably £350. So I can see what the motivation is. But the method is not very nice at all.
Well, if you take away the need, so if people, want a dog and stuff, then, start off with rescue. Let's just get on top of the rescue dog situation first of all, and there should be proper breeders that are, but people just go to, they want a dog, they see one advertised on Gumtree and they'll travel to go and see it. If people stop buying dogs from places like that, people will stop needing it and, necking dogs and all that type of stuff, So don't buy dogs from breeders. Go get a rescue dog, put the work in, make a proper plan, really,
Yeah. I mean, I have to say that Bella is a very, very happy dog.
Bella was a rescue dog from lovely Raisted, bless her.
Yeah, and I must say that some of your clients in the hairdressers are very tolerant, because when I walk in, she lets the world know that I'm there.
God,
And
because
runs
she
in
hadn't
little
seen,
circles.
yeah, she hadn't seen you for 2 weeks the other day, so that was crazy. She went ballistic. It was cute. It was cute. She's really vocal, isn't she?
There must be something good about me somewhere.
Oh, you see. Well, she
Andrew,
sees you as part of her
let's just
pack.
take
You
a look
see.
at what's happening now. Plan B has been shelved. People are being urged to go back to the office and so on. First of all, are you seeing a change in your business? Secondly, as a businessman, what's your reaction? And thirdly, do you think that people are going to go back to work? Because there's a lot of suggestion that people have got so used to working from home, that's where they want to stay.
Yeah, but this is it, aren't they? It's the sort of power dynamic. I'm sure in businesses will change. Like, there's a friend of mine who works for a theatre, well, in a finance department of a theatre company in London, quite a big one. And he was saying that a couple of people are saying, "Well, I can't afford to come back to the office now. I can't afford to do this and this because they've been so used to being at home, childcare situations, etc., etc." And and my friend is like, we need you in the office because we need to have team meetings, we need to work on things physically being now if we can. So, and it worked before. So it's a real challenge, I think, for both sides, isn't it? Because people, quite frankly, who've been commuting for years, and I know what that's like. Suddenly, not to if you didn't have to commute, you didn't have to spend the money on the trains, or you could be at home more with partners or families or friends. Then, of course, it makes complete sense, doesn't it? Of course, but how lovely. Not all of us can have that luxury. So there's a bit of pushy pull and a bit of yin and yang, I think. I think on both sides. Obviously people need to make things work, but once again, there's a little bit of expect and entitlement going on, isn't there? So just because they go, well, I don't want to do it now. I think, well, there you go. Not all of us want to, have that luxury. So I think people are going to have to be a bit more lenient and compromising on both sides, aren't they?
Right.
Just because they stamp their feet and go, well, I want to work from home, I'm used to it now. Well, that's lovely. But other dynamics are in the office as well, aren't they? And I don't know if it's not just offices either, is it? This is the other thing, when they
Well, I
talk
was
about
going to ask you about
mistakes,
your home
you
heating
know?
bills. How are
Oh my
they?
God. Well, this is the other factor. They're not spending the money on commuting, but they'll be spending it on heating and coffee and stuff at home, won't they? So in that sense of it, that's bonkers, isn't it? The way I'm sure we probably spoke about this before, but the way I did another shop the other day, and everything, most items have gone up at least 35, 40p per item, and just all of a sudden, But then are people putting up costs because everything's going up, so everyone feels that pack mentality? I mean, people have been saying to me, "Well, you're going to put your prices up." So obviously, it's in everybody's uh, consciousness at the moment and stuff. So everybody's expecting it. So maybe people are putting extra costs up, because then to cover their costs. But it is a real worry every time, to think, okay, put another layer on, let's not put the heating on, for that much longer or stuff. I mean, I go for a swim every day as well, so that takes the showering down to just John, using it. So that takes that use down because I'm paying membership for a gym, so I might as well get ready at the gym every day. I know that
Yeah.
sounds a bit mad, but it all makes a difference, doesn't it?
No,
So
it does indeed. Now, what about inflation? Because that is creeping up and up and up. A lot of people, because we haven't had inflation significant inflation for the last 10 or 15 years, aren't really aware of it the way that perhaps we were in the early part of the 2000s. It was at 5.4 yesterday. I don't know what the figure is today, but I mean, if it's creeping up and up and up, I mean, what inflation means is that the cost of everything is going to go up because the cost of money goes up.
yeah, this is it, isn't it? Well, I was listening to the a podcast with an economist, and he was chatting and saying that since the wage freeze in 2000s, and that's when we spoke about this before as well, when that's when cheap goods came in, and Primark, Lidl, Aldi, you can buy TVs for £100 on Asda or whatever. So people had the impression they had more money. So for the last 10, 11 years, we felt like things have been all right because the cost of buying things has been so much cheaper, even though the money hasn't gone up. So, but now all of a sudden, of course, that's stopped, isn't it? So, um, we're really sort of noticing it as well. It's a bit scary, really, because there's other money that's been spent on other things. I had a client in yesterday who's an economist professor, so obviously he's very worldly wise, and he's just not a mad lefty barber like me. Even though I'm not a mad lefty barber, actually, but he's educated. That's my point. But what he was saying was exactly what we all say. So I thought, oh God, and he's like, he knows his stuff. So it's really interesting, because he was talking about certain things that, sort of 6 billion spent here, 6 billion spent there on various things, so PPE, etc. Incorrect PPE, I should say. So yeah, it's a worry, isn't it? Because you've got to go back through the expenses of what the government have been spending on themselves and go, right, let's see how much we can claw back then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That might put some money back into the pot, mightn't it?
Well, it might. I'm not holding my breath for an MP giving anything back.
I know. How do they? We were thinking about this because we talk about this with clients, because everyone who's been coming in, obviously it's Lewes as well. People live surrounding areas, but generally, we're quite right on down here, aren't we? So, but everyone was saying, we're all responding to it, and what's right, what's wrong, and what's logical. So we're all in our brains when we're hearing all this stuff on the news. We're following what we would do, what is right, what is wrong, what's our logic. And unfortunately, people in power, or the government, the Tory government or whatever, they're all getting back payments, aren't they? They're all like, you can't do this because then you'll lose this seat, you need this for that. Other companies are involved, paying them extra money to do extra jobs, in a sense, or or fact that they'll, a lot went to Eton, so that they breed, don't they, winners or whatever at Eton. So it's a different mentality. Whereas you, me, and nearly everybody else, everyone normal or the public, we're sort of going, well, you need to speak out and apologise and resign and do everything you can. Like Matt Wankycock, he's trying to get back in as well now, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or Dominic Cummings. So they're all responding like we aren't, like we wouldn't respond. So that's why we're all getting confused and going, because it's not, there's very clearly what's right and wrong, isn't there? You know what I mean? Morally.
Yes.
So one part of it, like I always say, we're all on the same page, lots of different cross-section clients, different economic backgrounds, different, what they've been through life, where they stand, but everybody morally basically is on the same page, So we all can't be wrong, surely,
Well, I mean, morality seems to be something that has disappeared from the political classes. And, I find that from activists as well. A little bird told me, and I'm not going to be too detailed in case somebody challenges me, because I don't know the details, but a little bird told me that even at our local council, I mean, our local council level, is a bit of skullduggery going on as far as the accounts are concerned. Now, I know that Lewes District Council, for instance, have fallen out with their auditor, and they've been late with their accounts for quite some time, several years, and it's we can't do it until they do this, and we can't do this until they do that. In other words, ping ponging backwards and forwards. When I fail to file my accounts, I get dumped on. They don't, and so they can play around all they want. But it's very distressing when our leaders, as it were, the people who are supposed to be in charge of our destiny, can't actually get things like that right.
Yeah, I know. It's because is there not like an overseeing independent? I just keep thinking, I don't know, but like when I used to work in theatre, when I was in the producer's office, as an administrator, and everything we'd have on a diary every week, that you'd check that's being paid. This is when this contract's got to be out. This is when it's going to happen. So you're constantly following stuff up. So there's always like a surrounding circle where everything is contained in a way. So that's going to be paid by that date, that's this, that, and the other. So you're always on top of stuff, because the knock-on effect of bills and things is mad, isn't it? One person's going to get billed, doesn't pay the bill, then that can't happen, then that can't happen, and so and so and so and so. So you've all got to play your part. So how is it that that's not I don't know. I think it is out there, isn't there? There is a documentary about what happened to Britain's billions, and it says there used to be an independent investigation into the government's accounts company that look after it, but then to save money, they sold that off so they didn't employ someone else. So now it's out to public tender, so you can access it. I think it's called "Where's Britain's Lost Millions?" Jacques Peretti. It's on iPlayer, I think, or all four, one of those two. And that's fascinating because then Jacques, as an economist, was then researching all this and start to go through this amount of money was spent here, this amount of money was spent here, because and then you could then challenge certain councils to account, you know. So
Yeah.
that might be quite interesting.
The thing is, I always think that things start at the top, and I haven't checked it recently, but the EU accounts or the Z accounts have not been signed off for a number of years, and they actually had an independent auditor. Well, independent in as much as they were paying the wages, a lady who actually refused to sign off on the accounts because she said there were too many anomalies, so they sacked her. I mean, I have no confidence whatsoever that when they investigate themselves, that there is anything other than cover up. That's very cynical, I know, but then I'm an old journalist. I'm an old hack.
It's almost like, you know, like when they do jury service and they select 12 random people, in a sense. It's almost like there should be every so often, so everybody gets to do it. Like you could question stuff. Do you know there would be like a thing where you'd been invited to see how things are run, or you could question. I don't know, something. I don't know, because we're the problem is, like somebody had said the other day, like my other half always says, the problem is I think I react to people things like this because you think they're doing what you would do, what's right and wrong, or whatever, or being open, and they don't, do they? That's the problem. That's when we all get disappointed because they don't seem to respond like we would respond. You know,
Yeah.
like the difference between our age and our life experiences, Keith, between me and you. You know what I mean? But we're
Yep.
so similar on so many things. You know, with our thoughts and our thing, and we've had different experiences in life and different backgrounds, but like morally and stuff, it's, you know, we're so on the same page all the time. You know, because what's right, isn't it? It's very obvious
Yeah.
what's right and wrong. So same as a lot of my customers, you know. So you just think, yeah. That's when I get wound up, is when you start questioning, going, well, why hasn't that happened? Why hasn't that happened? What's happened to this? You know, yeah, it's mad times, isn't it? It
It
makes us
is.
just feel powerless, doesn't it? I
Oh,
just hope,
absolutely. I mean, things are out of control. But, you know,
yeah,
it makes me wonder
yeah.
how far we've gone, because you just mentioned the jury service. Do you know who introduced 12 Good Men and True into British law?
Oh,
It was the Normans. The Normans instituted the jury system. Okay, may not be quite as sophisticated as we know it today. You've gone black, but I'm sure you'll be back. uh, Never mind. I'll keep talking. I'll talk for both of us at the moment. Anybody would say, "Oh, you could do that, Keith, at any time." It's 8:34, by the way, on Thursday, the 20th of January. The weather is started off cool. It was below zero. It's going to go up only to 5 today. It's sunny. There is a light cloud, and we no rain. I mean, that's the important thing. So even if you dress up for the warm, you don't have to worry too much about having water drip off your. I just thought that I might look and see whether anybody given any comments. All right, okay. Look, let's with Andrew having disappeared, whether he'll come back or not, I have no idea. Obviously, a little technical thing, because we were talking about 12 Good Men and True, and the jury system, rough and ready though it may have been, was introduced by the Normans, and until then, it was a trial by combat or ordeal, and that's where and that form brought in by bigots from time to time existed, of course, right through the the Middle Ages. Ducking stool is a trial by ordeal in some ways. But prior to the Normans coming, the idea was that you held a hot cannonball, and if it burned your hand off, you were innocent, and if it didn't, you were guilty. So it was a funny, very funny sort of system. But that's where quite often in the old movies you see that, particularly Ivanhoe and that sort of thing, is people can have a champion. The champion was selected so that trial by combat, whoever won the fight, the other person was guilty. So the outcomes are very strange. Let's just take a moment and let us just, for a minute or two, enjoy the good things about Lewis and relax for this morning. Oh, there we are. He's back. Yes. Yes. Very quickly, the answer to the question that I posed was: is the Normans introduced the jury service? So that's well over 1,000 years ago. Oh, he's gone again. I think it's Bella. Bella must be jumping up and down and getting on top of the computer. But never mind. He's doing the old college try. The gremlins do get in. And I've often said my frustration with a lot of things that appear online is that the people that actually stitch them together, they may be geniuses, but they don't know how to talk to ordinary people. Way back, in about 1998 or 1999, I was part of a program which looked ahead to what was going to happen after the millennium kicked in. And we were looking at what would happen with online stuff, which was virtually unknown at that stage. But there was something called, I think, the Insurance Direct or something sort, where you actually called on the phone and you could get a quote and so on. And I spoke to this chap and I said, what is the big difference going to be? And he said, the day that you can just push a button and everything will happen, rather than having to phone and talk to people and so on. Well, that has arrived. But the trouble is that the people who put these programs, these computer programs together, don't seem to understand that not everybody is as computer literate as they are. And so they miss out various steps, or they put things in which are far too complicated for the non-computer mind, like mine. So these things fail and fall down. And then the banks, who also think that everybody is computer literate, all financial institutions do. I have no time for the management there either. They then get very heavy because things don't happen the way that they expect it to do. But I have a constant battle with American Express. Once a good company, now that it's being run by computers, it's an awful company. I mean, a really, really very poor company as far as customer relations are concerned. And my beef with them is that I have a window of 5 days to make my payment. But on the first day, I start being harassed. Blah, 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 even though the agreement has been made. And has anybody bothered to tell the computer? No. So what happens is the company loses its reputation. The company is I cannot say is known for its customer relations. When you actually talk to the people on the ground, they're polite enough. No worry about the people that they've got working for them in terms of when they chat. But after that, it goes into some great morass of computer bibble-de-deal, and it never gets through to the people that should be worried about, and that is the people that are dealing with their clients, with their customers. Now, you can't, I'm sorry, you cannot say that a company is, even if it does other things well, if its customer relations and its computer technology are not geared towards its customer relations, then it's doing a bad job. It's a poor company. And there are several others that aren't that hot. But American Express is just awful, just absolutely awful. And that slogan they had, that'll do nicely, it doesn't apply anymore. I'm sorry, that won't do nicely. There, I've had a nice little go. I've had an opportunity, and all that came out of whether we had a excuse me, I'm polite. He put my hand to my mouth and I said, excuse me. So there we are. Once again, I'm very sorry that we haven't got Marina Chapman. Once we're off the air from Break an Egg, I am going to see whether, in fact, we might be able to do a program later in the day. The trouble with television is that it cascades in. There is a time and a place and a slot for absolutely everybody and everything. And if the slot is missed, it's very difficult to reslot things because otherwise you've got to upset somebody else. But anyway, it was nice to chat to Andrew. It's good to hear his views. Particularly, I am concerned about this dog napping thing. An Englishman and his dog, feminist, it's all right, I use it as generic. An English lady, if you like, then, or English people. No, I'm not going to get sucked into that. An Englishman and his dog, basic about society. Being a dog owner is very English, and becoming affectionate with your dog even more so. Now, there are some people in the news this morning across East Sussex. There are cases of dogs being dumped. In one case, there was even a hamster, I think, was dumped by people who had grown tired of them. Well, they're not English. How's that for ethnic bias? They're not English. But anybody who can abuse animals of any sort like that really need to be taken to the cleaners, and they really need to be treated the way that they've treated their animals. But generally speaking, we are a pretty loving nation, and we love our animals. It's not just dogs; it goes right through to whatever pet that you happen to have. But if other people are stealing them, first of all, there's the heart tug. It's just as if a child has been stolen. But secondly, it's against the law, of course. But thirdly, those animals are mostly sold so that they can go to stud. In other words, they will help provide litters of little puppies, which are then sold on at outrageous prices. Outrageous prices. So the whole thing is once again, being the sort of fellow I am, is whatever they do to a dog, I would do to them. And the mind boggles if the dogs are being put out to stud. Righto. The headlines this morning are that Boris is the headlines, the front pages are that Boris is clinging on by his fingernails. Some papers say, hang in there, Prime Minister, and other papers say it's time to go. But the plotters, the so-called pork pie cabal, the pork pie plotters have pulled back from the brink. And I think that probably that's right. You want to get rid of your leader? It's up to you as a parliamentary party. Get rid of your leader. But don't do it in the vicious and underhanded way that you are doing it. That doesn't give any confidence in the party. And I think the one thing that we really do need, because the world is changing dramatically, and whereas we said there would never be another war, as now we're on the verge of it in the Ukraine, where it meets the Russian Federation, we need leadership. We need people who know what they're doing. And to change horses in the middle of a race seems to me not to inspire confidence, and those people who are trying it. But the other thing is that I'm outraged, as all of you who watch me know, I'm outraged that the pork pie should have taken a battering, should have been so abused. It is a wonderful, wonderful dish, a really good Melton Mowbray pork pie. There is nothing like it. The taste is absolutely superb. There are pretenders where the taste is, but a really good pink, golden crusted pork pie from Melton Mowbray, absolutely wonderful. And that they should have been dubbed the pork pie because somebody from Melton Mowbray apparently was involved with them. It is the pork pie plotters. It just stuck in my craw. It is 8:46. And I am going to get this little short this morning by 10 minutes or so, because I am going to make some efforts to see whether I can get hold of Marina Chapman and get her on a little later in the day. Things are pinging all over the place. Right. So if we can, we shall bring her on Mirador. I'll talk to the organizer, because one of the things that you should be aware of, and let me take a moment, is that the Lewis Speakers Festival for 2022 is on the 22nd and the 23rd of January. Now, today is the 20th. So that makes the 22nd Saturday and the 23rd Sunday. It's at the All Saints Centre in Lewis. You can buy a ticket to go to everything, I think, a festival pass, or you can pay individually for each of the speakers if you want to listen to them. But here is some of the rundown. Rachel Reeves is the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer. Steve Richards, presenter of The Week in Westminster on BBC Radio 4. Polly Toynbee, Guardian columnist. Dan Cruikshank, architectural historian and television presenter. Professor Sir David Omand, who will be with me tomorrow morning on Break an Egg, who is the former Director General of GCHQ, and is the first UK security and intelligence coordinator. In other words, he was M, and he's the topic is, I think, 10 ways, let me see, 10 lessons on how real spies think. So if you want to become a real spy, what you've got to do is to listen to Sir David, and he'll tell you. It's almost a do-it-yourself, become a spy thing. Vince Cable, whose name will be familiar, was in the government of Liberal Democrat coalition government, Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives. Simon Heffer, a journalist and author, a political commentator for the Telegraph and the Spectator, who writes extremely well. I was a fan of Heffer's. Norman Baker, our own former MP, but then now is very interested. Well, he's now become a writer, and he is very interested in what's happening in terms of crime and punishment, if you like. Because he wrote, his book was about the case of the name has gone now because of course I remembered it a second ago, but the Home Office pathologist who was murdered, at least they still insist that he committed suicide, but in fact the evidence is stacked up, and there's no question that he didn't take his own life. Anyway, Norman Baker is on a show. Susan Saunders, a documentary producer, and David Walker, the former director of public reporting at the Audit Commission. Well, that must be interesting. So, single tickets, £12.50. Early bird price, £9.50, but that was before 20th of December, so you've lost out on that. And you can get a festival pass. Not sure how much that costs, but there is still a box office number, 0333 666 3366. Now, I know most of you don't have a pen, but it's 0333 666 3366. and it is a Lewes Speakers Festival, which is taking place at the All Saints Centre. So there you are. Let's take this up to 8:50. I won't bore you with just a bit of nonsense. I don't have any nonsense, but I will play you this. That is a Triffid. The Triffids are massing across our countryside in hedgerows, and they actually disguise themselves extremely well. But when you hear the buzz of the bees and the chirp of the birds, it's probably an imitation coming from Triffids, lurking and hiding, ready to pounce on humankind. The Triffids first appeared in 1950, courtesy of sci-fi writer John Wyndham, and they were a plant animal that produced oil. And as long as we were controlling them and cultivating them, everything was fine. But a starburst blinded everybody on Earth, and the Triffids pounced. Once everybody was blind and couldn't control them, the Triffids took over, and they held ground for several years before we actually got back to mankind being in charge of his own, if I can put it that way, planet. Well, the Triffids didn't totally go away. They've been lurking and talking and quietly waiting their chance until mankind is blinded by something else. And now mankind is being blinded by computers. Computers are beginning to run mankind rather than mankind running computers. And that makes us, as a human race, vulnerable. And the Triffids are waiting. They are waiting their chance. And the Triffid Chronicles chronicle the abuses of the computers undertake on behalf of mankind. And the Triffids are waiting for a really huge mistake to be made before they pounce and take over again. So beware the return of the Triffids. The Triffid Chronicles looks at the mistakes that are made by computers that leave man vulnerable. So there you are. I left you with a picture of Miat, which for anybody who wants to know, because quite often a lot of people say that they really like my hat and they would like to take it away. But since Harrison Ford got $150,000 for his, mine is either £150,000 or $150,000 plus one. So if that's in your price range, I'm willing to exchange this hat for that amount of money, but nothing less. Okay, it is a time for us to say a cheerio. You see, a touch of a finger can get it so wrong. So let's just put this up before we go, since we're having a bit of fun towards the end of the day. All right. It's 8:55. Thursday, the 20th of January. I'm in Lewes, in East Sussex. Lewes, the county town of East Sussex. A small town, but an important town. Lewes is great. Shout it loud. And I do. I do. And like all good citizens, is when we get it wrong here internally, I yell like crazy. But then that's democracy for you, isn't it? Let's go out as we came in with that very, very gentle park video. Toodles.